This is Robin Bullock in the bottom here. The guy has this weird obsession with demonic portals. Now, I've talked about this specific clip before. It's been a while, but there's some new stuff just came out. He's still, to this day, right now, talking about new portals, demonic portals, that are forming all over the earth, and it's his responsibility, he believes, to go there and close these demonic portals. Like, God is giving him the power to close them and all kinds of crazy stuff. You wouldn't believe what he thinks these demonic portals are doing. So let me just catch you up on the demonic portal saga, give you an idea of what this guy believes about demonic portals. This clip is from April 26, 2022. He did a live stream with Roger Stone, of all people. If you're unfamiliar with him, he's a political provocateur. He's basically like a political hitman for Donald Trump and Richard Nixon. He worked for Richard Nixon, orchestrated the Watergate break-in, orchestrated the January 6th stuff. I mean, the whole 9 yards. He's absolutely terrible. So Roger Stone comes on this show with Robin Bullock called the Elijah List, and he tells everybody he believes that there's a demonic portal above the White House. Listen to this clip, April 26, 2022.
There is very clearly, in my opinion, some kind of satanic portal that is right above the White House, can be seen day and night.
So this doesn't have sound, but you see that thing, it looks like a sun behind the clouds or the moon. That has been there for months.
What we're actually looking at here is very obviously compression artifacts at best, lens flares in some cases. Is he like implying that all of this stuff, even the white diamonds down here, are all demonic portals? This is all lens flare stuff, what we're looking at here. Roger Stone, I didn't even know this guy was religious. In fact, I don't think he is. I don't know this for a fact, but I heard, rumor has it, take it with a grain of salt, that you remember how a while back Madison Cawthorn claimed that some people on Capitol Hill were inviting him to like coke-fueled orgies? Supposedly that was Roger Stone that invited him to that. This guy has never been Christian a day in his life, or at least never acted like one a day in his life, up until very recently, basically up until he did this live stream. And now he's making all kinds of bizarre claims about demonic portals and stuff.
Months in the sky.
The portal is real. It's amazing that the whole occultic world, Steve.
So Roger Stone comes on this show, and Robin Bullock is known to be a quote-unquote prophet of God, speaks God's words through his mouth. One of his most recent prophecies was that Donald Trump was going to win the 2020 election. We all see how that turned out. So anyway, that's the caliber of prophet we're dealing with here. Listen to Robin Bullock's reaction to Roger Stone's claim about a portal being above the White House.
The portal is real. It's amazing that the whole occultic world, Steve, knew that on 2/22/222, a portal was going to open.
2/22/222. What? Now, I understand the context of this clip because I watched the entire thing when it happened. He's saying February 22nd, 2022, but where were the zeros in all of that? There are multiple zeros in that. And what's he even getting at with this?
Now, that's all they talked about. They said it was going to open. They were going to use this portal and so forth.
He's saying the occultic world made these claims? What?
It was going to open.
Hold on.
2/22, a portal was going to open. Now, that's all they talked about.
That's all the occultic world talked about. Who is he talking about? The occultic world. Who is the occultic world's leader? This is all fake, Robin. It's all fake. Does he not realize this?
Talked about. They said it was going to open. They were going to use this portal and so forth. I want to tell you something about that portal that you just saw. You see the portal, and then you see all the cloudy flashes and all beside it. All
those are compression artifacts. When you compress a video feed, you're basically changing the code inside of it to be shorter, and then when you send it through to the other side, you unpack it and add the code back in, but that process is not flawless. Sometimes you lose stuff. So on the other side, when it comes through, what you're watching it on tries to fill in the gaps with what it thinks is best. And sometimes you get these weird little compression artifacts from it.
That going on. And it's amazing that Roger's on during all this because, see, the political realm is where the forces of good and evil come to fight. Because that's the realm, when they come together in that political realm like that, that's the realm that governs the affairs of men. And so there's always a fight of spiritual entities in a political realm. It's always there. It's because whoever controls that controls people.
So needless to say, the guy is absolutely obsessed with portals, demonic portals, and God and Satan opening these portals and using them to send demons through, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. Just absolutely nutty stuff, right? He came out with a recent declaration about another portal that opened not too long ago. This is from mid-August 2022, this clip is, but we need a little bit of context before we watch the actual clip, because what he's talking about is a little cryptic and confusing. So there's this event called the Mississippi Burning. I think there was a book written about it, or there was a movie about it, or something like that. What actually happened was there was an attack on 3 people, Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, okay? And this was in Mississippi, again. This is during the Civil Rights era, June 1964, and they were part of the Civil Rights Movement. They were 3 black guys, I believe. Let's just read the opening Wikipedia page to it, because this is relevant to a prophecy that Robin Bullock just told us about a demonic portal or whatever. The murders of Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, also known as the Freedom Summer murders, the Mississippi Civil Rights Workers murders, or the Mississippi Burning murders, which is what Robin Bullock calls it, refers to events in which 3 activists were abducted and murdered in the city of Philadelphia, Mississippi in June 1964 during the Civil Rights Movement. The victims were James Cheney from Meridian, Mississippi, and Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwerner from New York City. All 3 were associated with the Council of Federated Organizations and its member organization, the Congress of Racial Equality. They'd been working with the Freedom Summer campaign, attempting to register African Americans in Mississippi to vote. Since 1890 and through the turn of the century, southern states had systematically disenfranchised most black voters by discrimination in voter registration and voting. Wow, big surprise. Does that sound familiar to anybody else? The 3 men had traveled from Meridian to the community of Longdale to talk with the congregation members at a black church that had been burned. The church had been the center of community organization. The trio was arrested following a traffic stop for speeding outside Philadelphia, Mississippi, escorted to the local jail, and held for a number of hours. As the 3 left town in their car, they were followed by law enforcement and others. Before leaving Neshoba County, their car was pulled over. The 3 were abducted, driven to another location, and then shot at close range. There's no way to sugarcoat this. I try to keep it monetized or friendly, but sometimes you just gotta say it. The bodies of the 3 men were taken to an earthen dam where they were buried. The disappearance of the 3 men was initially investigated as a missing persons case. The civil rights workers' burned out car was found near a swamp 3 days after their disappearance. An extensive search of the area was conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, local and state authorities, and 400 U.S. Navy sailors. Wow. 400 U.S. Navy sailors. That's surprising. It was very high profile. During the investigation, it emerged that members of the local KKK, the Neshoba County Sheriff's Office, and the Philadelphia Police Department were involved in the incident. So basically, the KKK did this whole thing. They did the Mississippi burning, and the police were covering up for them, from my understanding. It was deeply disturbing, but at the time, not really surprising. It's the kind of thing that we would expect to happen in Mississippi to those types of people around that time. I mean, there are still parts of Mississippi that scare the shit out of me because of how ass backwards it still is to this day. So, yeah. 41 years after the murders took place, one perpetrator, Edgar Ray Killen, was charged by the state of Mississippi for his part in the crimes. In 2005, he was convicted of 3 counts of manslaughter and was given a 60-year sentence. On June 20th, 2016, federal and state authorities officially closed the case, ending the possibility of further prosecution. Killen died in prison January 2018. That's disappointing because he was not the only one involved, and those people just got away with it. So anyway, that's the Mississippi burning. That's what Robin Bullock is about to refer to here, okay? Let's listen to him talk about the Mississippi burning in the context of a demonic portal.
But I was looking right across the street at the place where the Mississippi burning took place. I was there in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and I was standing there, and I looked across the street, and that was the jail where they housed those three boys, you know, the three college students that the Klan killed there. And so they picked them up on some false charges and put them in that jail that night, and then they took them out and murdered them. Well, then they burned their station wagon, and that's why it's known as Mississippi burning.
Surprisingly accurate description.
Well, I'm looking at the jail, and I didn't know it. And then right beside me, this is the street Martin Luther King came down and marched there. Well, before I get on the stage, a prophet called me on the bus.
Oh no, a prophet called him. When he says prophet, he means somebody who literally speaks to God on a regular basis. He means somebody who's receiving divine messages from God that are so divine that they should be written in a new book of the Bible, effectively. You know, the book of Robin Bullock, chapter 3, verse 2, that kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here.
Me on the bus and said, now he don't know what I'm there for. He said, you are there to close a portal that has to do with voter fraud.
Oh, really?
What? What is he talking about? What about a demonic portal? A demonic portal opened at the site of the Mississippi burning that was contributing to voter fraud? What? This makes absolutely no sense. Why? Why? I don't understand. This is so ridiculous. Would you believe it if I told you it gets even more ridiculous than that? Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video. That's not the first time the guy's talked about this. February 17th, 2022, he talked about this exact event. Or he talked about, I don't know if this is the exact event, but he talked about being at the site of the Mississippi burning. Check this out.
And I want you to understand something now. Those of you watching in other nations, you could Google this and look it up if you wanted to or something. But those in this country will, especially if you're my age or older, you will remember this event. They called the event Mississippi Burning. And it turned out, I think it was a pastor that headed up the whole thing. Is it a Baptist pastor or something? Headed up the whole thing. And so the Lord sent us down there in a meeting. We were with the Choctaw there.
Choctaw, I believe, are the Native American group from the area. I could be wrong on that. Also, I don't know why there's a tiny man in the bottom right corner of this. I don't understand. Somebody said maybe that they were trying to bypass copyright something or other. I don't even know. That doesn't seem to make sense to me, but who knows? I really don't know why there's a tiny man in the corner. He's not mouthing the words or using sign language or anything, so your guess is as good as mine.
Choctaw there. And they welcomed us there, and of course they're our people, you know, they're part of our people. And so they welcomed us there. And the people that was there, intercessors over the land and so forth. Well, I got a call from a prophet before I walked out on that stage because things got to be very uneasy down there. It was so much demonic activity there. And this is what took place. The Lord sent us there because in 64, when that happened, there was a portal opened up for voter fraud.
Why would a portal be opened up for voter fraud in the 1960s? Who opened this portal to voter fraud? Was it Satan? Why does Satan have to open portals for voter fraud? Can't he just influence his minions to change ballots or whatever else, why doesn't God just snap his fingers and make things work the way he wants them to work? You know, Robin Bullock is one of a few supposed prophets of God who prophesied that Donald Trump was going to win the 2020 election. And as a matter of fact, one of those prophets, Johnny Enlow, this guy right here, Johnny Enlow, he even said, you don't even have to bother voting because God's going to handle it. You don't have to go out there. God told him in a premonition or whatever that he's going to make this happen. This is a rescue operation from heaven, is what he said.
He is going to save you from things you don't know you need to be saved from yet.
He's talking about Donald Trump.
And then the Lord progressively began to speak regarding that. And he said, this time in the presidency is going to be a hinge of the ages and be known as before Trump and after Trump because of the way I'm going to use him. I'm using him as a Trump card, but I'm the Trump card player.
So we're moving from a Jesus-based system, you know, before Christ and Anno Domini or Year of Our Lord. So BC and AD. It's a Jesus-based system, and we're moving from that to a Trump-based system, before Trump and after Trump. That's what he's saying.
And so your nation will be known as before Trump and after Trump. And he said the nations will be known as before Trump, after Trump. And the Lord, it was like, he said, I'm really not interested in your all's vote this time. I'm doing it. I usually give you all that option. This time I'm not. This is a rescue operation from heaven. This is a moment of the ages.
So Johnny Enlow and Robin Bullock are both in the same sphere of influence. They've worked together. They know each other. They say similar things. They both prophesied that Donald Trump is going to be the president in 2020, 2016 and 2020. I don't understand if that's the prophecy that they give. I don't understand why the hang up now is Satan is opening portals to change votes and stuff. I thought God was powerful enough to just snap his fingers and make whatever happen, right? Why do all these demonic portals for voter fraud and all that stuff even exist? Isn't he all powerful? If he's all powerful, he doesn't have to worry about what Satan's doing. He can just snap his fingers and make it happen. Their belief system is not internally consistent. That's the problem here. Their own belief system collides with itself at various different points. And what we're watching right now is their belief system colliding with itself once again. And he says it so confidently. Not only does he say it confidently, but he repeats it. This one, remember, is from February. The one we watched a minute ago was from recently, like August 2022. So 6 months go by, and he says the exact same story. It was nonsense the first time, and it's nonsense the second time. It contradicts every other thing that he's said on this subject, but he says it over and over again. And guess what? His listeners believe it anyways, despite the fact that it contradicts itself blatantly.
Fraud. And it opened up, and it was a gateway to throw elections and everything from that portal that was opened in 64. And so the Lord said, I want to send a prophetic team down there and close that thing.
Again, why does God need anybody to close anything? Isn't he God? Can't he snap his fingers and close it himself? Why does it exist in the first place? Everything he's saying right now is internally inconsistent, but people are believing this. People buy it.
And it will affect what happens from 2022 on. And so we prophetically went down there, and I even took salt, because Elisha threw salt out and healed the land.
Yeah, Elijah and Elisha, I think, are Bible characters that basically represent prophets of God. So he's talking about a Bible verse that refers to Elijah, I think, throwing salt or something. He believes himself to have what's called an Elijah anointing, which means he's a prophet who can prophesy and divine future events or whatever.
And we went to different places after the meeting was over and threw salt on the place. And the team can tell you what a powerful event that was.
So sad, dude. So sad that this guy believes it. The strangest thing about all of this is that the guy seems to have some kind of a weird obsession with portals. So I've given you three different examples or three different occasions when he's talked about demonic portals forming, right? Would you be surprised to find out that there's yet another occasion? There are actually even more than this, but I can only make the video so long. So far, we're about 20 minutes in. I can only go for so long. I've got a billion examples of this guy talking about portals. Demonic portals. Check this one out. Early February 2022. This is on the Flyover Conservative podcast, I believe is what it's called. It's kind of confusing at first. I mean, they're all kind of confusing, but just stick with it to the end.
The Lord said, connect the corners. Just connect the corners.
So he's looking at a spreadsheet right now, and the Lord told him to, I guess, connect the corners of the spreadsheet.
And so I did. And it made a corridor that went, look at the corridors from the same cubed numbers.
Okay.
Do you have that jar?
Yep.
Put
Yep.
that one up. Look at that. Look at that. It made a hallway that spanned time.
Okay, so the spreadsheet we're looking at here is dates. 2000, 2001, 2002, all the way down to 2009, and then it starts over on the next row or whatever, 2010, 2011, 2012. And I guess he drew lines from the dates over to other dates, and he's claiming God told him to connect them, and it's a corridor through time. Did he just create his own portal? I don't know.
Time. The occult, they're using that. They knew that. Satan is a mathematician. Magic has its own base in math. Everything is in that legal time.
Dude, is he saying that Satan created math and that math is satanic? I mean, I knew that conservative, right-wing evangelical wingnuts were saying that science is satanic, but not math. Please, not math.
Has its own base in math. Everything is in that legal time. And so a corridor was created. A spirit went from 2008, walked in past the rapture into the time of the Antichrist, and that spirit walked back down that corridor, and Obama was a duplicate of the Antichrist all the way till he left office. It was brought that spirit back into our time.
Yeah, you know what I find interesting, particularly about when they say that Obama was the Antichrist like he just did? It says the Antichrist is going to be worshipped, doesn't it? Does anybody find it strange that there are prophets of God who prophesy about Donald Trump on a regular basis? Does anybody find it weird that there's a prophet who wants to change our calendar from one that's based on Jesus to one that's based on Donald Trump? Is that weird to anybody else? A while back, I made a case for the idea that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Now, I don't believe any of this nonsense. I'm an atheist. I don't believe that the Bible is real or any of that. But if I did, gotta say, Donald Trump is looking more and more like the Antichrist to me, truthfully. But no, it's Obama. It's Obama, totally.
Office. It was brought that spirit back into our time, and it was present in our world until 2015. And at 2015, CERN had set itself to open a portal on 9/23 of that same year, and they were going to open this portal up to another dimension and invite somebody over.
That's right. The guy has this obsession with CERN, you know, the Hadron Collider. He thinks that the people who run the Hadron Collider, the scientists there, their goal is to open a demonic portal to the other side and invite a demon over or whatever. And his evidence for that is the fact that India, I think it was India, somebody gifted a statue to CERN. I mean, a bunch of countries gifted stuff to CERN when they opened their doors, right? Not just India. One of those gifts that they gave CERN was a Shiva statue. That is really the basis of this entire conspiracy theory. Now that they know that there's a Shiva statue there, a false god, a destroyer or whatever, they look everywhere they can, in every corner, to find evidence of CERN's nefarious nature. They're trying to open portals to the other side to bring demons over. Why is this dude so obsessed with portals? Why? Why portals? If you have an answer for me, let me know in the comments or let me know on Twitter at Telltale Atheist.